know the why human trafficking work is needed, to fight for the freedom of modern-day slaves. But love, passion, commitment isn't all you need to be an effective and successful anti-trafficking advocate. Learn the how. I'm Dr. Celia Williamson, Director of the Human Trafficking and Social Justice Institute at the University of Toledo. Welcome to the Emancipation Nation podcast, where I'll provide you with the latest and best methods, policy, and practice discussed by experienced experts in the field so that you can cut through the noise, save time, and be about the work of saving lives. And the podcasts you've listened to so far, hopefully you've liked them, but maybe you heard people with big, impressive titles. Maybe they were running university trafficking centers, or they were directing state anti-trafficking missions and had impressive positions, or they were doing mad research. Well, both they and I would want you to know to not be intimidated or too impressed by these big, fancy titles and these big, seemingly impressive jobs. Both them and I would want you to know that you can most absolutely get started in anti-trafficking work and be effective at it. Perhaps you're pursuing a degree with hopes of doing anti-trafficking work, and that's great, fabulous, fantastic. Maybe you're in the middle of that degree, and I want you to know you don't have to wait until you finish your degree. If there's room on your plate, you could get started now doing some anti-trafficking work. Or maybe you're not pursuing a degree at all. You don't need to have a degree to perform many of the tasks and duties that we need to help fight human trafficking. One way to get involved right away is to join a local anti-trafficking coalition. In my state, we have 21 coalitions. That's in the state of Ohio. So there are coalitions across the U.S. and around the world. Now, they all operate a little differently, but they all have the same or similar missions, which is to respond to human trafficking. Before we go any further, let's just discuss the semantics of what some people call themselves. Some people call themselves a coalition. Some people call themselves a committee, a task force, a working group, a team. It doesn't really matter what you call yourself. Somebody could break down the exact definitions. What matters is that it's a collection of diverse people that come together around an issue, around a mission, and they move that issue or that mission forward. And they're members, and they love people to join them in that fight. I know on our coalition, I started it in 2009. And now I'm simply a member of the coalition. I don't chair the coalition. I don't chair a committee on the coalition, but I am very much an invested community member who is involved in the coalition. And really, whatever your skill is, bring it to the coalition and they will make use of it. I know one time we had a father who joined our coalition and he said, I don't have any particular skills that lend themselves to a coalition, but I have daughters and I'm concerned about my daughters and I want to do something to make a difference. And we asked what his profession was. He was a plumber. And we happened to have a house that we were trying to open for programming. And so I said, well, go to the house and check the plumbing and you can be the person who continues to maintain the plumbing. That's a very important job when we're trying to have programming inside this house that was donated for us. Once we had a member who wrote plays. She said, my skill, my talent is writing plays. So if I had access to survivors and I could hear their stories, I could write a play that is based on their stories. It would be authentic and we could sell tickets and that would be a fundraiser for the group. So we were way excited. We gave her access to some thrivers, not victims, not survivors, but thrivers. As you go along the continuum, we want people as healed and as healthy as possible when we ask them to talk to other people or to do presentations. So we gave her some thrivers to talk to. She interviewed them and she wrote up their various stories in a poetic type of way. And her name was Carol Shahade. She was very talented. And not only did she write it up in a very artful and poetic way, each woman's story, but she went over to our performing arts school at the University of Toledo and she got some actresses and they practiced. We went and got the theater. We reserved the theater at the University of Toledo. Some of the actual survivor thrivers wanted to read their own stories. Some just wanted to lend their stories. And so we had actresses read some of the stories. We had some of the real survivors read some of the stories. And so we simply advertised very cheaply, had people on our coalition take flyers that we made with a copy machine, take them around town, take them to their organizations, tell people that we were having this play. And Carol named the play My Real Name, which was awesome and profound. We charged $10 a ticket. We could seat about 600 people. I remember we sold about 612 seats, and we kind of pretended we didn't understand fire laws, which is not good, but we sold out. And the women came one by one out on the stage. They read their stories in this poetic way. There were scenes on a screen in the background. We even had one guy that was a serial killer at the time, true story, that had killed some of the women involved in prostitution up and down his highway route. They talked about their experience. They talked about their feelings. They talked about their trauma, and they simply read the story. At the end of the play, when the lights came up, I came out on the stage and they applauded all of the women. I, of course, asked for donations. So we got even more donations before people left. And we used that money to do street outreach for the next 2 years. That funded all the supplies we needed, the gas money we needed to go to these areas to do street outreach. And that was all because somebody came to the coalition and said, look, I know how to write plays. I can lend that skill. So good, effective coalitions know how to utilize the talent that they have in the room. And in fact, when you go to a coalition meeting, they should be orienting you to what they do and what they're about. They should be finding out what your sort of superpower is or what your secret sauce is. And if they're smart, they'll utilize your superpower to move their effort forward. I've always said if you have an effective coalition, it's going to be packed and people are going to be busy. In our coalition, we don't allow butts to get warm in seats. We don't want people to just come and sit and listen and leave. We want our people to be active, moving the issue forward. And there's always a balance between how much you process and how much you accomplish on a coalition. We try to make people feel welcome. We try to have the judge on our coalition be as vocal about her perspectives as the survivor, as the janitor, as the secretary, as the plumber. Everybody should have an equal voice. And so when you join a coalition, my advice to you is, number one, don't go in the coalition saying what you're going to do for the coalition, right? Because you have to be invited to the sandbox. You just can't go in there talking about what you're going to do without even understanding the lay of the land first. Second, and please, please, please don't do this. Don't go in and tell the coalition what they need to be doing, particularly if you've spent 5 minutes on the issue or you've spent 30 years on the issue. They still own that issue in their community if they're the coalition. And they are people that have been trying their best, we can assume. And so when you go in and say, well, here's what you need to do, and they don't know you, you haven't built a relationship, and you're putting other people to work and telling them what they need to do can come off as disrespectful, as if they have never thought of your idea. So on our coalition, we encourage people to bring ideas, but as soon as you bring up the idea, guess who's in charge of the idea? So you have to implement the idea. We'll give you lots of support and our help and help you be successful, but you're the one leading the effort. Coalitions are great. They build a camaraderie. They build relationship. They build power. And relationship and power is what you need to move this issue forward. I would advise against actually doing work, anti-trafficking work, independent of a coalition, particularly if a coalition exists in your community and you're doing something independent of that coalition. Why is that happening? Join the coalition, join forces, and you'll be that much stronger. Now, I don't think that all coalitions are healthy and wonderful and easy to work with. Not saying that, but it's good to try to join, try to build a relationship so that you're not out there as a lone wolf, that you have a good partnership, a good collaboration going on. And, I know sometimes you try your best and coalitions can sometimes not be moving in the right direction and not be about the genuine, authentic mission. And I get it. But I think you need to try to join and try to partner and try to belong. Another way you can do good anti-trafficking work is to contact the legislator or legislators in your state that have been the people that have championed the anti-trafficking bill in your community. If you can connect with them, you can always volunteer to be their aide, to answer questions about trafficking, to organize their files, to follow them around, to organize events for them, fundraising, speaking events where they can speak about more about human trafficking. You can contact the researcher at the university in your community. Is there a researcher there that is doing anti-trafficking research? Google it. Google your community and human trafficking and research or researcher. If you find one, email them, ask to meet with them in their office. Ask them about things that you could do together or who they hang out with, and can you join them? I know with my mentors years ago, I followed them around so closely. I often say if they would have stopped too fast, I would have ran into them. I mean, people do that to me now, and I understand it because they want to become experts. They want to make a difference, even if they're not calling themselves experts. They want to make a genuine and meaningful difference wherever you end up volunteering in the anti-trafficking world. Do it so well that people remember you. They think of your name when we're on our next fundraising campaign. We're trying to pull together our best awareness campaign. We're putting together our program, our project. And, I have a bit of advice. If you're on a coalition or you're working with a mentor, a researcher, a programming person, you're employed in a job and you want to begin to do anti-trafficking work, whatever it is that you seek to do in the anti-trafficking world, do your best. Because I think people don't realize that it's the company you keep and what they think of you and how they see you is sometimes whether you advance in this issue or in your career or you don't. So people who are a little more evolved will always be kind and nice and polite to you. But future jobs, future opportunities are won and lost with a simple sentence. So I can't tell you how many people have called me up or walking by me and said, hey, what do you think of John Smith? I need someone that I need to put on a project. I need to pay somebody to do this, or this person will get a lot of exposure, or I have a full-time position. And I was thinking about this John Smith person. What do you think? And all I have to do is shake my head no. Without even saying anything else, they're like, okay, something is not exactly right about John Smith. And I've actually seen names taken off the table because of a sentence or two or a negative head shake. So my advice is always be the best person you can be. Always appeal to your higher self. Always try to be in partnership or be as collaborative as you can be. Try to focus your best on the mission and not personality flaws in other people, and not your anger because somebody else made you angry, mad, sad. That's not about the mission. That's about you. And what we need to do in the anti-trafficking work is get you out of the way so we can focus on the mission. So that's critically important. It's easy to say, very hard to do. I can tell you honestly, there are plenty of people I don't care for them. I'm not a fan of their personality. But if they're in the room with me, they're on the phone with me, and they're about the same mission that I'm about, then I can look over all of that. I can look over every single part of it because I need to be focused on the mission and not how I personally feel about this person. You feel me? You get what I'm saying? So if this person were to ask me to hang out and have drinks and let's watch a movie together, I probably wouldn't because I don't care for them. But I'm going to show up every single time when they say, hey, Celia, this is about the mission and this is how we can advance what we're trying to do. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be Johnny on the spot and we are going to work closely together. And I'm not going to worry about my personal feelings because that's about me and I'm trying to be about the mission. If you don't have a coalition in your community, then you can always start one. And I'll tell you how it's done. It's pretty easy. You say to yourself, I want to fight human trafficking. And you find a friend or two and you say, are you passionate about this area? And they say, yes, I'm just as passionate. And you have people willing to join you. So you have a meeting. And those people that are passionate bring other people that are passionate. And then at that meeting, you say, okay, who's not at the table that strategically should be at the table? And the next meeting, you go and get those people. So you move from a meeting and a group to a coalition. And the one thing that you have to be smart enough to know is that you don't have all the answers and you're not all powerful and all knowing, but you should be smart enough to know to bring the smart people into the room. Bring the smart people into the room. And that's all you need to know. And be humble enough to allow them to tell you their thoughts, their perspectives, and to let their expertise shine. You know, coalitions that are effective have a lot of people, and these people are volunteers. Let me tell you why the house is usually full on coalition day when you have the meetings. Because you remind people what they wanted to do in their fields when they first went into their fields of practice. I'm talking about before the bureaucracy, before the great pension plan, before I started working just hard enough not to be fired, and you paid me just well enough not to quit. Before all of that happened, some people went into professions to be a nurse, to be a doctor, to be a social worker, a clinical counselor, a chemical dependency counselor, all types of professions, public health, criminal justice, being a police officer, probation officer, parole officer. Some people went into these sort of helping professions because they wanted to make a difference. They were passionate. And then they got into their jobs and their jobs beat them down. And they started thinking, I'm going to do my 9 to 5 and I'm going to wait for retirement. And then they find out about human trafficking and they find out about the fundamental beliefs that every American and people around the world have. And that is the belief that people should be free. And when they learn that there are people who aren't free, that passion starts to stir in them again. And when they come to the coalition, if the chairs of that coalition are wise, they'll pick up on that and they'll say, you remember what you wanted to do when you went in these professions? And they say, yeah, I wanted to change the world. And then you say, you can do that here. And you know what? You don't need to pay people money. You just need to give people the opportunity and wake up their passion. And then you know what the secret is? You let them actually do it. You guide it, you frame it, you run the coalition if you're the chair or the chair of a committee of a coalition. Other than that, you let the people with the expertise create. And I'm not talking about expertise as in, you have a JD or a PhD. I'm talking about somebody that has been involved in technology for a long time. Maybe that's the person that should be in charge of the website. Maybe somebody's on social media every day or almost every day. Maybe they should be the person in charge of social media. Maybe you do have an accountant. Maybe you do have an attorney. Allow these people to give you their best on the coalition. I remember we had retired FBI agents that came to a meeting and they came up to me and they said, Celia, we have seen so much in the area of human trafficking, of particularly sex trafficking. And we were going after the money and we were going after organized crime. And our focus, our mission was not to rescue victims. And so for several years, we felt less than our best, that we've done less than our best. And now that we're retired, we want to join this coalition and we want to make a difference. And one of the things that we were thinking about was gathering food items on a consistent basis to give out to direct service programs. What do you think of that? And I said, well, I think that's a terrible idea. It's probably a little more politically correct than that. But I said, no, don't gather food. You actually have skills and expertise that I bet no one else in this room has. You actually can hunt and find people, runaways who are at high risk for sex trafficking. And currently we're working on that actually, but not with the retired FBI agents, but with active sheriff's deputies to get a list every single week of the runaways and then to actually look for the runaways because we identified them as being at high risk for sex trafficking, and we didn't have any active response for runaways. And so now, hopefully, we'll have an active response. And in talking about people involved in the coalition, we have some members that said, well, we would love to gather pictures and last known addresses and be the team that goes out and hangs up flyers at corner stores, at libraries, and tells people who are also concerned about high-risk runaways where to call to report so that we can recover runaways and get them involved in long-term, intensive, and comprehensive programming. Whatever it is that you desire to do in the anti-trafficking fight, just remember 3 things. First, no one will be able to contribute what you will be able to contribute and in the manner in which you contribute it. And if you don't contribute it in the way that you're passionate about and thinking about right now, your community will suffer. Second, know that even the best world-renowned advocates in the world have insecurities. They don't always know that they're doing the best thing and the right thing. Sometimes they can't see the path ahead of them, but they're willing to try. And so know that you will come to this advocacy, come to this fight with your insecurities intact, questioning yourself all the time. I can't tell you how many times that I went home and thought, oh my God, I don't know if this is going to work, but I hope it does. But I walked into the meeting, right, smelling good, looking good, walking confidently, as if, hey, what I have to say is exactly what we should be doing, and then go home and go, oh my God, I don't know if this is going to work. Boy, I hope it does. So know that everybody in the room and everybody in the struggle, they may be presenting themselves as confident and aware and educated and experts, but I promise you, all the insecurities and the shyness and questioning whether it's going to work or whether you're the person for the job is going on among almost every single person that you encounter in this struggle and in other social justice struggles. And 3, show up, stand up, and speak up. Those aren't my words or somebody else's, but if you show up, please, I don't care if your knees are bumping together, stand up and say, I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to do what you guys think should be done because maybe you're new and you don't know what needs to be done. And then speak up. I advise that you wait and listen, learn what's happening among the advocates that are already involved, respect that they've been at the table for a very long time. And then when it's time, speak up and say, I can do this part. Or what part do you need me to do? See, everybody doesn't need to be a leader. I'm a really good follower, but I require having a leader that has integrity and is willing to show courage. And courage is just being afraid and moving forward anyway. If I find somebody that's courageous with integrity, I don't need to lead. I'm very good at you giving me an instruction and me going and doing it. But if need be, I'll lead. And I always say to people, if you're in this fight and you get an opportunity at the mic or you get a seat at the corporate table or the important table, the influential table, the table that opens doors, take that seat. And when you take that seat, speak up because somebody else could have that seat. But if you're sitting there, you need to speak up for the people that will never have a seat at that table. The people that are vulnerable, oppressed, poor, invisible, being trafficked. That's who you speak for. So if you have a choice between your shyness, oh, I'm too shy to speak on the mic, I'm too shy to take a seat at the table, then move shy out of the way because it has no business here. Take the seat, speak up for people who will never have the seat and never get a chance to speak up on the issue. If you have a chance at the mic, take the mic. Somebody says, hey, would you like to speak on that issue? Yes, I would. Don't even know what I'm going to say yet. But on my way walking up to the stage, I'm working it out in my head because I follow one rule. They're not going to have a chance at the mic. They don't have the power. They don't have the entrance ticket that I might have. So if somebody says, do you want to say a few words? You always want to say a few words because you're going to get up there and you're going to speak for the invisible and you're going to make sure people understand the importance of the issue. And if you can even be brave enough to tell them exactly what they should be doing. If they should be writing a check, ask for it. If they should be joining a coalition, encourage them to do that. We've got to become good, effective advocates. So I've long since left shy behind. I don't even like to be on the news. I'm going to tell you the truth because, they always give you the horrible lighting and the zit that you have on your face is always amplified, So my vanity kicks in and I don't want to be on the news. But I will get on the news wearing whatever I have because I have to remember that this mission isn't about vanity. It's about getting the word out, promoting awareness, and helping people who don't have freedom to eventually have freedom. So stick with me as we continue to learn more about advocacy. I'm going to do some YouTube videos for people out there that want to go back to school or might be halfway through school. And they want to know, what can I do with this criminal justice degree that has anything to do with trafficking? What can I do with this public health degree, this nursing degree, this social work degree? How can I make sure that I'm going down the right path so that I'm an effective anti-trafficking advocate? So I'm going to be bringing that as well. So be looking for that. And I also want to remind you, next month, September 19th and 20th, is our 16th annual Human Trafficking and Social Justice Conference held at the University of Toledo. We expect to have about 80 presenters over the course of 2 days. There'll be lots of various sessions to attend. And the same two people can go to a very different conference, our conference. You can go there and you can attend a session to hear a survivor every single hour in the day. Or maybe you're a researcher. You can go and attend a research-focused conference where people are presenting their findings every single hour. Or maybe you're an attorney. We have continuing legal education credits. Social workers, we have credits. Chemical dependency, nursing. So you can go there and get exactly what you need. You can attend beginner sessions. We have those. All the way to advanced sessions. The conference is amazing. It's going to cost you some money. I think it's under $200. But if you're a professional, you can get up to 12 continuing education credits to keep your license. We are charging the money. And the reason we're charging the money is because all of that money goes into our coalition and into our Human Trafficking Institute at the University of Toledo. We don't get paid a dime. No one gets paid. Everyone that's standing there 12-hour days for 2 days are volunteers. So we're going to put that money to good use, to do research, to teach, and to be involved in the community and help the coalition, who is also helping direct service agencies. And if you can't make it to the conference this year, you can go to traffickingconference.com. You can see all the previous presenters and topics that we've had for the last 16 years. I think we've had like 42 states and 30 countries. Representatives attend the conference. If you want to come this year, you can look on there, see the descriptions, the titles, and sort of map out which presentations you want to go to. If you happen to be an alumni of University of Toledo, we are going to live stream 3 full sessions. I'm going to do one and 2 other sessions. So you can listen to or watch the presentations from the comforts of your home if you happen to be UT alumni. It's our dream one day to do that for the entire conference and all the sessions, and to bring those virtually into particularly third world countries that can't afford to participate in the conference. There have been many, many advocates that have come to the conference, learned different aspects, taken them back to their community, and implemented them. Also, if you have any ideas that you'd like me to present on or guests that you'd like me to have on the podcast, please email me, Celia, Celia, at CeliaWilliamson.com. CeliaWilliamson, Williamson.com. And let me know, and perhaps I'll do a topic on what you'd like to hear about, or interview somebody that you think is an expert and that the community needs to hear from. Let's not just do something, let's do the best thing. If you like this episode of Emancipation Nation, please subscribe and I'll send you the weekly podcast. Until then, the fight continues.